Welcome back. And Draupadi Murmu made history today when she took oath as India's first tribal president.
Ahead of the swearing-in ceremony, Draupadi Murmu visited Rajghat to pay tributes to Mahatma Gandhi. Then, accompanied by outgoing President Kovind, she made her way to Parliament. Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramanna administered the oath of office to Draupadi Murmu. Then Murmu addressed Parliament as India's 15th president.
जो देश अपनी आज़ादी के 50वें वर्ष का पर्व मना रहा था, तभी मेरे राजनीतिक जीवन की शुरुआत हुई थी। आज आज़ादी के 75वें वर्ष में मुझे ये नया दायित्व मिला है।
After the ceremony, President Murmu greeted Prime Minister Modi, the Union Ministers, Congress Interim President Sonia Gandhi and other dignitaries who attended her ceremony at the Central Hall of Parliament.
And after the ceremony, Madam President Murmu reached her new residence, Rashtrapati Bhavan.
President Draupadi Murmu received the ceremonial salute at Rashtrapati Bhavan and then took charge of her responsibilities from former President Ramnath Kovind at Rashtrapati Bhavan. At the forecourt, Prime Minister Modi arrived for the Tri-Services Guard of Honour for President Murmu. Minutes later, President Draupadi Murmu inspected her first Guard of Honour as the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces. With the transfer of power completed, former President Ramnath Kovind left Rashtrapati Bhavan and arrived at his new residence.
And this horrific video from Koppal in Karnataka shows a tempo mowing down several pilgrims who were sleeping on the road in front of a temple. The tempo can be seen going and deliberately moving towards pilgrims sleeping on the road. Some saw the vehicle and jumped out the way, but 75-year-old couldn't manage to move and he died on the spot. Members of the minority community stripped and thrashed a school teacher in West Bengal South Dinajpur because she punished one of the students. The teacher had slapped the student for not attending classes. The girl's family and others stormed into the teacher's classroom and attacked her. Now, monsoon fury in Madhya Pradesh has led to a collapse of highway in Bhopal.
The highway which connects Bhopal to Jabalpur and Indore caved in on one side and caused massive traffic disruptions. The road broke into two after water from a nearby dam was released. When the water gushed onto the highway, a 40-foot piece of slab was washed away from the road. The highway was inaugurated with much fanfare just last year.
They were getting complaints for last evening, and now it is totally, you can see it is collapsed. The water was released from Bhadbada, water was released from Kaliasot Dam, and that is the root cause of this, this flood is the root cause of collapse of this bridge on this important national highway.
And in just one monsoon, the structure has come down like a house of cards.
And India is deploying a second squadron along the northern borders with China. Here's why it's required. Number one, China cranks up air activity across eastern Ladakh, and that's one area which is a sensitive area. Chinese fighter jets are often flying close to LAC, and the Chinese have been seen violating 10-kilometer no-fly zone deal between the two sides repeatedly. Chinese sorties have gone up along the LAC since June. China has upgraded all its major air bases facing India, and that's something India has to take cognizance of. The Uddhav Thackeray faction of Shiv Sena has moved a fresh petition in the Supreme Court seeking a halt on the proceedings before the Election Commission regarding the recognition of what is a real Shiv Sena. This comes days after the Election Commission asked the rival factions of Shiv Sena to submit documents to prove their majority and support their claims before the Election Commission over the symbol. It's a big twist in the 2002 Gujarat riots case. The SIT has submitted a report that there is ample evidence to prove that there was a conspiracy hatched between the former DGP RV Srikumar, Teesta Seetalwar and Sanjeev Bhatt at the behest of the late Congress leader Ahmed Patel in the case. As per this report, Srikumar was part of a larger nexus from the very beginning. Protests continue against Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal after the Lieutenant Governor recommended a CBI probe on the Aam Aadmi Party's excise policy.
BJP workers hit the streets to protest against alleged irregularities in the implementation of the excise policy. They held placards and raised slogans against Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia while they marched towards Aam Aadmi Party's office. But they were soon blocked by the police. The protesters clashed with the cops, some tried to jump over barricades and were immediately detained. This is the third straight day of protests in the national capital against the Delhi government. The trigger is Lieutenant Governor Shiv Sena recommending a CBI investigation into the contentious Delhi excise policy.
Zamir Ahmed Khan, a Karnataka Congress leader and Siddaramaiah loyalist, has taken a jibe at DK Sivakumar, and this is for wooing the Vocaliga community. He said, and I'm quoting, "Can I become the chief minister with just Muslim votes? We need all communities," unquote. The remark didn't go down well with Sivakumar, who has warned for a disciplinary action. Weeks after a student's death in a school in Kalukuruchi, a class 12 student was found dead at the hostel of girls' school in Tamil Nadu's Tiruvallur district. According to initial police probe, the student died due to suicide, but the case has been transferred to the Crime Branch Criminal Investigation Department. At least 8 people were killed after double-decker bus collided in Uttar Pradesh.
The collision took place in Barabanki, which is about 30 kilometers from capital Lucknow. Both buses were headed towards Delhi from Bihar. Around 4:30 in the morning, the bus coming from Sitamarhi rammed into a stationary bus from behind. The result was disastrous. The stationary bus was ripped into shreds. Among the 8 killed was a 12-year-old. Police suspect the bus driver was sleepy when he drove into a stationary bus in front.
Amid the rising cases across the world, monkeypox has been declared a global health emergency by the World Health Organization. This labeling will put in motion a coordinated international response which is needed. India so far has 4 confirmed cases, 3 in Kerala, who were all returnees from UAE, and 1 person who has no travel history from Delhi. Now, will monkeypox be the next COVID-19 for India? Here is what experts are saying. Number 1, transmission is via respiratory droplets. It needs prolonged face-to-face contact, and this is very different from what we saw in COVID-19. It is unlikely to be as transmissible as COVID-19. We hope so. And there is concern over COVID weakening immune system that will make people perhaps more susceptible to these infections. And here's another important story. Boxer and Olympics medalist Lavlina has alleged mental harassment by authorities ahead of the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. Lavlina said that one of her coaches has denied entry to the Games village while another one has been sent home. The Union Sports Ministry has intervened and directed the Indian Olympic Association to immediately arrange for accreditation of Lavlina's coach. One person has been arrested for allegedly making death threats to Katrina Kaif and Vicky Kaushal. According to the police, the actors were getting threats on Instagram and the accused was also stalking the actress. The accused is a Lucknow resident who has been struggling to get work in films and TV shows in Mumbai. After Bollywood star Ranveer Singh broke the internet last week with his nude photo shoot for a magazine, a complaint has been filed against the actor. The complainant has accused Ranveer of hurting sentiments of women and insulting their modesty through his photographs. ISRO is now developing indigenous space tourism. Can Gaganyaan, India's first manned space flight, be the vessel for it? Here are some points. Gaganyaan mission aimed at sending astronauts to space, different from ventures by Virgin, Galactic and Blue Origin. India's Gaganyaan has not yet flown or proven reliability, unlike the foreign firms. So there's the challenge. Gaganyaan also uses expendable rocket foreign private firms funded by billionaires. ISRO relies on the government funds, and that's where perhaps the fund crunch is going to be a key aspect. And Russian missiles struck Ukraine's Black Sea port of Odessa.
high-precision long-range missiles launched from the sea destroyed a docked Ukrainian warship. A stockpile of anti-ship missiles delivered by the United States were also demolished. Ukraine's Black Sea port of Odessa is crucial for grain exports. And the strike came a day after Kiev and Moscow signed a landmark agreement to unblock grain exports. The deal was hammered out over months of negotiations. Ukrainian President Zelensky claimed the strikes in Odessa showed that Putin can't keep his promises.
And former UK Finance Minister and Prime Minister contender Rishi Sunak has promised to act tough on China if he comes to power. He called Beijing the #1 threat to domestic and global security. The pledge comes after his rival, Liz Truss, accused him of being weak on China and Russia. China's Global Times referred to Sunak as the only candidate with a clear and pragmatic view on developing UK-China tie. Myanmar's military has executed 2 democracy activists. One of the deceased was an ally of the ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi. The activist was sentenced to death in January by a military tribunal of the junta for allegedly masterminding and being involved in anti-regime armed struggle. Several students of the University of Michigan Medical School staged a walkout at the school's white coat ceremony. This happened after an anti-abortion doctor took to the stage as the event's keynote speaker. The now viral video shows students getting up and leaving the auditorium as soon as the anti-abortion doctor started to speak. A dramatic video shows a giant sandstorm ripping through China's northwestern region. The powerful sandstorm extended to the sky across a desert landscape, heading toward motorists caught in its path. According to some reports, the sandstorm lasted for about 4 hours and caused traffic disruptions. Thankfully, no casualties have been reported so far. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition. Maria Shakil joins you on the other side.
CNN News 18 is New India's #1 news choice. Unprecedented 13-week leadership.